joined by former NYCFC defender Ethan White. Ethan, first things first, how are things?
I'm great, man. I'm great. Good to catch up with you. It's been a while. I haven't seen your face in a long time, man.
Yeah. Are you ready to take a walk down memory lane?
I am. Let's do it.
So can we start at the beginning with your NYCFC journey? How did the move to NYCFC come about?
I had decided I was going to leave Philly. I had talked to the coach at I think our end of the year meeting, and I was like, kind of want a different challenge. I wasn't sure where exactly I was going to be landing. I know there was like a few clubs interested, none that I was like crazy excited about. And I decided to come to New York for the off season because my girlfriend at the time, my now fiance, lived in New York. So I was like, I'm going to just come up to New York for the off season for a few weeks. We'll see where I get traded. I know I'm not going to be in Philly anymore. And then Patrick Vieira took the job, and I was instantly, and my college coach was Robert Tugian, so I was like, I want to go to NYCFC if it's possible. And then Claudio happened to be my U20 national team coach for one camp, and he knew a bit about me. So there's a few touch points that I found interesting. And then my agent kind of just reached out, told me they expressed interest, and then within like the next three days after that, I was traded to New York City.
I mean, when I looked back at your career, you lived in some big cities already before you got here, but how was the adjustment to living in New York?
It was a big one. I mean, Philly, I think it was like, I'm from the DC area, so that was like home. That wasn't too much of an adjustment, obviously, just in terms of going from like regular home life to being in a professional environment. Philly was, I guess, felt like a bridge between New York and DC in terms of like size of the city and being on my own. But I spent most of my time, kind of either in the house or at the training facility. So I think I didn't really explore New York until after I retired.
And you mentioned it there, Patrick Vieira was head coach. As an Arsenal fan, the word dreamland is what springs to mind for me. Was that your experience?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, like, he was the captain of the reason why I became an Arsenal fan. He was the captain of that squad. So it was huge for me. I walked into the facility on the first day, and he knew my name and kind of called my name before I'd even seen him. And I was like, that's crazy that Patrick Vieira knows my name, was one. But two, obviously, him being Patrick Vieira, like, you instantly listen to him. And he has that captain energy, Captain Ori. He's a leader of men. And that was one of the things I was looking for at that point in my career, which is why I was super happy that, I ended up coming to New York.
And just on a personal level, to be coached by someone like that, were there any specific lessons that you look at and think, yeah, that was a moment that he taught me, something that he gave me that really improved me?
I think he just helped me look at the game in a different way, and appreciate the game differently. And also just like at the point of my career, I think I was learning how to appreciate the smaller things within the game and the occupation that we, of being a professional footballer. And I think that helped mold me into like a appreciating things differently, and also just looking at overall, what you do for a living in a different way. You have to respect everything. You have to be passionate about what you're doing, and I think Patrick is one that instills those values.
And when you reflect on your playing career with NYCFC, were there any particular highlights on the field that you think of fondly when you think of the club?
Just finally playing my position, honestly. I grew up playing right back my entire life, and then when I got into college and then played in MLS for the first 5 years, because of various team needs, I had been converted to a center back. And the first thing that Patrick said when he saw me was like, "You're not a center back, are you?" And I was like, "No, I'm a right back." And I played defensive mid like when I was like 15, 16. And he instantly could tell, and kind of we started training that way. So that was one thing I'll say.
It's nice to be seen, isn't it? It doesn't matter when it arrives, just nice to be seen.
It's also just nice for someone to actually have spent the time to understand, look at your strengths and weaknesses and look at where you could go as a player and how to train that. I think that's kind of what was missing in the beginning portion of my career.
And when we speak to guys from that era, they talk so fondly about the locker room experience, the spirit. As someone that was in that, can you articulate to us what made it so special or the contributing factors to that?
I think, that locker room was incredible. I think it was a balance of youth and experience. Like, obviously, we had guys like, Frank and David and Andrea and Andoni and, Jason Hernandez was there and I was there. Josh was there. And then you had a mix of, like, the young guys. You had, like, Mikey Lopez, you had Kwame, you had God, I'm struggling. Kyrie, you had Tony Taylor. You had so many guys. I think you had a nice blend of like young youth and the older guys, and I think we kind of fed off each other. The older guys kept the young guys in check, and the young guys kept the older guys, young. And I think that kind of reflected in the locker room. But also, I think the coaches, being a young coaching staff, kind of kept us like fresh and like made things fun even when and in the stressful times we got the playoffs and deep in the season when things got more serious. I think it was always like a lighthearted energy around the club because one, we did a lot of things together off the field, either forced with Patrick or just because the guys liked each other. And I think that was just key. I think the locker room was just a great vibe. The young guys played the music, the older guys made fun of us. It was a good balance.
And when you look back, what impact do you think your time on the club had on you as a person that you've carried through with you to where you are now?
One, I stayed in New York. I never left. Two, I think it's just an appreciation for the game. I appreciate the game differently. One, being a part of growing a club like New York City. Although I don't think I was a major part of it, I'm glad to say I was part of that story. And two, just like I said, just appreciating the game differently. I think I came to New York with a different sense of what I wanted out of my career. And I think that really fulfilled it for me, which is part of the reason why I was okay walking away at that time.
Yeah, I'm now fascinated to talk about the next chapter of your life, if you will, which I believe started while you were here. You were already making moves in the photography game and everything. Yeah. Where does the passion for photography kind of start with you?
It started when I was super young. I'm not super young, but like 14, 15, around that time in high school. I had already been playing in the youth national team setup, but I had also like collected shoes and sneakers and kind of in that kind of fashion part. And that was just something I did with a group of friends that were also in the youth national team setup. And we had an eBay account, and we needed to sell shoes and buy shoes, and we wanted to buy a camera to separate ourselves from the pack of like the poor sidekick quality image photos.
Remember them well.
Yeah. So then we got a camera, and then it just turned into like us documenting, traveling around the world from Brazil to France for like regional team and national team trips, and then that turned into taking pictures of each other, and then that kind of when I retired. When I became professional, I was playing too many hours with FIFA on the couch. I was like, I need to actually get a hobby again, and now I had money to actually buy a camera, like a much better camera. So I bought a real camera, and I kind of started shooting again. And then when I was in Philly, I guess they kind of found out that I was, a photographer, or I enjoyed photography on the side, and I'd shot my first campaign. So when I came to New York, it was kind of already kind of in flow. And then, kind of being in New York, more people found out that I was shooting, more brands found out. I did some campaigns while I was playing. And since then, it's never stopped.
Yeah, and it's taken you all around the world. I read that you were artist in residence for Venezia.
Yeah.
Talk me through that from start to finish, because it sounds amazing.
Yeah, so my brother went to college with Ted Pilipakos, who was the head of putting all that thing together, that whole brand rebrand of Venezia. And during COVID, he kind of called me. He was like, "What are you up to?" And I was like, "Just kind of." I had a full-time job at the time. I was working with ICC, kind of being the creative director on what was going to be the ICC tournament, which because COVID kind of canceled. And then I was like, "Well, now I'm doing nothing." So he's like, "You want to come over? I'm trying to do this artist in residency program where, we have a photographer come over and they just kind of document the entire season." So I jumped on the opportunity, and I was there for basically, say, 6 out of the 9 months of the season. And yeah, they used my images throughout the entire season, and we ended up producing a book. Yeah, it was incredible time. Interesting time to be in Venice. It's just such a small city with COVID. Like all the lockdown was kind of crazy. At night, the streets were a little bit eerie with the fog, but it was a beautiful backdrop for like, quiet kind of being away from the norm of New York City during that time.
Yeah, it sounds it. I imagine you felt like did you feel like you were able to capture the essence of the club by the end of that residency?
Yeah, I feel like there was definitely hurdles because of the COVID situation. Like I couldn't get but so close to the players because the league restrictions on people who aren't within the bubble being around the team, or also the city was locked down, so I could only do but so much of the culture stuff. But Because of the city being locked down and it being Venice, there's usually like 80,000 people that go there per day for like tourism. So I felt like it was great to be able to capture what the city used to be like before tourism was like a real thing. So I could see like the architecture for what it was without lines of 10,000 people trying to get into one of the palazzos or something like that. So I think it was kind of a gift and a curse kind of thing.
Can understand that.
Yeah.
Now, more recently, you launched Stad. I hope I'm saying that right.
Yeah, Stad. Yes.
It sounds very mysterious, so I would love you to be able to put more words to it for us and explain to the fans at home and everything a little bit more of what it's about.
Yeah. So Stad is a creative agency that me and Matthew Stiff have officially launched this year. We've been working together for the past 5-6 years now, even before I retired. On various different projects. I've been all over Europe, kind of documenting it, like football and then just lifestyle things, shooting campaigns for New Balance and Major League Soccer and kind of different brands. We took this previous year to kind of just build up clientele and get all those things going, and this year we decided to launch. So we're looking to do things with obviously within sport, within football / soccer, but also things that where soccer overlaps with culture, because I think soccer and sport in general shapes culture in ways that I would say most people don't realize. They kind of have several things that bleed on top of each other. Football with politics and football with fashion and football with music. I always say that if you go to one footballer's playlist, I'm sure his playlist is exactly like the next footballer's, and so on and so on. So that I think there's something about sport that kind of shapes cultures, and sport having so many different kinds of cultures within it, being whether that's your nationality or your race, that kind of creates a beautiful melting pot. And Stad is looking to highlight those things, those intersections.
That's a beautiful message. I do have to ask you though, who had the best playlist at NYCFC when you were here? You said some have got good, some have got. Who had the best?
Kwame's was great.
Okay.
I would say Rodney's was great. Kyrie's was good. Connor Brandt's was good. Mikey Lopez probably had the worst.
Wow. Okay.
Who else? Mata's was good. Mata's was good. That's all I can remember right now. Tony.
But you weren't short of a good DJ. It sounds like.
No. We had good DJs. We had good DJs. Everybody brought a different style of music. Kwame, being from Toronto, was more like Caribbean, Afro beats. Connor was very like LA. Kyrie was kind of a mix of everything. Rodney was about the same mix of everything. Nice. Those are the 5 block DJs.
I guess the last question I have for you is, do you have any message for the NYCFC fans that might be watching this and maybe haven't heard from you in a minute or want to catch up and see you? Any message for them?
I would just say don't be afraid. I know I've gotten some messages on Instagram and Twitter, people seeing me in the street and not saying anything, or they weren't sure if it was me. It's me. I haven't left New York, and please don't hesitate to stop and say what's up. I talked to a guy the other day on the train, and he said his son sees me all the time down the street, and I was like, your son just say hi. So don't hesitate to say hi. Hopefully I'll see you guys again a bit more soon, and keep getting these trophies.
I'm approachable. That's a great message to leave it on. I appreciate that. Ethan, thank you so much for the time. We really appreciate it.
Thank you.